one of whom was a student of mine. And they, for example, hosted a webinar by a professor from Riverside on ethnic studies. They also were able to finally get in front of our school board and discuss with them and demand that they want a diverse curriculum. They coordinated with an organization called Diversify Our Narrative, which has done a lot of work around articulating ideas for teachers to follow to diversify and decolonize their curriculum. And then just within our group, we've done a lot of education. I feel like I've done this work for a long, long time, but in the past year, my learning curve has just completely shot up. We've talked about microaggressions, about intersectionality, about tokenism, about tone policing, a lot of things that I think a lot of the predominantly white members of our community didn't have a lot of experience with. And so there's been just a lot of learning. You may notice that in my name, in my box, that I have pronouns. And that's one of the things we talk about, just I think a lot of people are seeing this here and there and not understanding why. And really the point is that if I share my pronouns, then a student who might be trans or non-binary, or just has a gender identity that isn't evident, that then they feel like it's a normalized thing and it's welcome and all are welcome. And I've had over the past couple of years, 3 trans students. So it's something that I think we're becoming more and more aware of, and I think trying to get ahead of to make all students feel included and welcome. So the other aspect, aside from our own learning and offering learning to teachers and students and community, is also advocacy and really strong pushing of our school district. And right now we're in the unfortunate position of having a school board at San Diego Union High School District that is predominantly really obstructive and dysfunctional. So that the work that we're trying to get done in equity is not going nearly as quickly as we would hope. So we are speaking out at board meetings, and we're spearheading letter campaigns. For example, when one of the school board members had something racist on his Facebook page and it was not addressed, we got on that and sent a lot of letters, and it was addressed. We are currently trying to get ahead of the controversy that's happening all over the country around critical race theory, trying to educate. And I will momentarily put a link in the chat for a webinar that Dahlia and Tom and Marlene are hosting on October 27th. It's open to the public for us to learn really in depth what critical race theory is. It's something that I studied as a graduate student in art history at UCLA. And I think it's something that's complex. And I think there are a lot of risks around arguing it simplistically. So that's something that we're getting ahead of, and I invite everybody to join our webinar on that. And then other things like, when we notice something is missing, for example, when it was Black History Month and I asked my daughters what her teachers were, what their teachers were providing, and there was nothing. They had nothing, and it was midway through February. And so we spearheaded another letter campaign among our members and reached out to other parents in the community to pressure the teachers and the administrators to address that omission. Another example is equity. The San Diego County Office of Education hosts an equity conference every year. And last year we noticed that our teachers their administrators had not announced it to them nor offered funding for them to go, opportunities to go. And so again, we pressured the district and they did respond. Not as much as we would like, but they did get more teachers the opportunity to go and attend. The district is also currently in the process of searching for a new superintendent, and it's a very rushed process. They hosted some town hall meetings, the search firm, and we were up in front there asking questions and trying to focus the conversation on diversity and equity and inclusion. And we called them out on not providing a form for families who speak a language other than English, not providing the survey in any other language besides English. And while it was a little bit on the late side, they did respond. They translated the survey into Spanish, and they did host one town hall meeting in Spanish, although it was poorly attended because it was so last minute, and then the nobody had opened the door and they had to do it outside, which I think is indicative of their, not I think just ignorance, I mean willful obstruction of addressing the needs of our community. And I think that there's a sense among the leaders that we are a predominantly white group, and that the problem with racism and lack of equity has to do with individuals. And so they'll say to us oftentimes, well, who's the bully? If we say that there, something happened, there was a racist incident, they just want to know who is it, give us names, and they want to come down with a disciplinary reaction. And what they're ignoring is that we need to back up and create a culture of diversity, a culture of inclusion. And not only that, but an openness to be able to talk about race, to talk about identity. I mean, I've had kids that come to me and they'll hush the word Mexican as if it was a slur. So I think we just have to be able to talk about race. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but we don't get through, we don't grow, we don't get through difficult times without facing difficulty and without being with our discomfort. So I think that's all I have, but I am happy to answer questions and would be very, very happy to have lots of you join our CRT webinar on October 27th, which I'll put now in the chat.
I wanted to add something.
And Dahlia wanted to add something.
Yes,
Yeah,
Dahlia,
absolutely.
please.
Yeah, thank you. So just as we end this conversation, I wanted to bring up that at the end of the day, equity, when you think about equity, it's particularly educational equity, it's about taking action, okay? So we begin with this idea of building awareness, understanding what's happening in our structure, what's happening in our environment, what are the resources like to make sure that all students are gaining from that. And then we're like, okay, so now what do we do with that? Well, we take action, because equity doesn't happen, right, without taking action. And so there are typically 3 questions when I'm looking at, do our policies, do our practices, and do our procedures look at this through an equity lens? So who is benefiting, right? Who is marginalized? And how do we expand this benefit and eliminate that marginalization? If you can continually ask those 3 questions, who is benefiting, who is marginalized, and how will we expand benefit and eliminate marginalization from our policies, our practices, our procedures? So every time we create something, so say for instance, the policy says this, and maybe it looks good, but the practice, there's something missing there. And maybe something missing in our procedures. And so we start to look at it that way. That builds equity within the structure, because equity is less about the individual. It's really about how we collectively create these inequities within our institutions, which has been built, embedded in our society. Like, we all live in a very racialized society, even when we don't even think about it. But the things that we do, the decisions we make, the decisions that we don't make, when we overlook things, those are above and beyond just us as individuals. This has been by design for quite a long time. So it's very important to start to apply that growth mindset, start shifting and talking differently, so that we can actually, at the end of the day, take that action that's needed for our students and for other educators and administrators, and for the school system at large. Just wanted to add that final point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dahlia. And I would like to call Edith Fine, who is one of our AAUW members, who is a marvelous writer of children's books, and children's books that reflect those marginalized groups in our society. I bought a number of her books for my grandchildren so that they would know how other kids live. And one of her books about a little boy living in Mexico and trying to get an education, and what his father does to help him has been just an inspiration and has been shared with so many other kids. Edith, you had some information for us about what your group of writers is doing to promote equity. Would you share that, please?
There's a big thrust now to do exactly what this meeting is about. So a survey was done by Lee and Low Books in 2016, and the industry numbers were quite appalling as to who was in the industry. And that meant BIPOC and everything, the LGBTQ. And there's a true effort going on. You can go to We Need Diverse Books, that's a website, and people are, more and more people of color are coming in, and we're getting these gorgeous illustrations and amazing books. And it's something that you can find online. It's easy now. So SCBWI is the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and they're really pushing this. At the summer conference, many of the speakers were represented by the people that you all are talking about today. Great meeting.
Would you put that on chat, please?
Okay.
Wonderful.
Over and out.
Thank you so much, Edith. I wanted people to be aware of that important information that you had shared. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much to Encinitas4Equality, our wonderful and inspiring speakers. Thanks for the rest of you for being here. Some of you may have the question, gee, this was all great, but it's Encinitas. Well, our goal was not only to let you know what was going on in Encinitas, of course, but to show you this is what a group of concerned individuals in one city, one of our very white, very elite cities, decided to do to bring equity to their city. A city where I am quite sure many of you will agree it would not be easy to talk about or to bring up these subjects because there is a very high level of complacency. We all live in other cities around Encinitas as well as living in Encinitas, and we are hoping that this will inspire us all to go out and to start talking in our communities about inspired by what Encinitas4Equality has been able to do with all of the resources on their website. I know that I intend to start activating in Vista, where we have very big equity problems in housing and in other issues. And we hope this will inspire all of our wonderful AAUW members, knowing that we are the descendants of the suffragettes. We fought for the vote. We fought for equality for women, for changing laws. And this is our new fight, which is for equity. Thank you so much to everyone who came, and we are now closing the program.